I want to talk a little bit about design this morning, and game design, and people, because that's what you're designing for. And so in our game, the Anacrusis, we have a character or creature called the Spawner. And I like to name things, when you first see them, you call them what you see, how you react to them, and then over time you get nicknames to them. So hopefully we're going to do that in the Anacrusis, where we actually get to the point where we have nicknames for them. But right now, it's the Spawner. And in the single-player game, it's a creature that's designed, an enemy designed to annoy you. It runs off and hides, drops eggs, and it'll eventually keep doing this and become a pain in the butt to you that you chase it down. And the reason for this is some really good teams form a tight ball, and that's good. We want to promote that, but equally we want to split that up because that's how you die. And that's how chaos happens, is somebody goes off on their own, right? It's a classic horror trope. You split up. And so the character right now does a good job, the enemy does a good job of doing that in single-player game. It drives people to make poor decisions, and those poor decisions end horribly. That ends in comedy, that ends in our game working. But in playing that character, like first people were like, oh, you can't play that character in versus mode, that won't work. We're like, man, I think you can. It'd be kind of like, right, this is, people would say, oh, it's like playing the witch in Left 4 Dead. And I'm like, well, no, this is different. Because this creature actually does a lot of damage. And even in our early versus games, it's doing a lot of damage, but it doesn't feel good. And so what you do is you hide somewhere, you have to be within some distance so that your reticle turns red. You don't have to be in line of sight, but just in some distance, and then you can fire off your eggs and you can go hide. But there's a minute to respawn your eggs, and that's too long. We'll fix that. But it spawns 3 eggs, and it does a lot of damage. So at first it didn't feel good because you didn't know the damage you were doing. But now we put it where it dings, and you see the points that it's doing, and it feels better. But it still doesn't feel as visceral and as good for a lot of players as something like the Brute or the Gooper, which I think are the favorites. But it's an important character, enemy type, because it requires strategy over twitch. It requires thinking of, hey, they're going to be in this situation here, I'm going to go do this. Or, hey, now's a really good time, right? It makes you use your head versus your twitch skills. And for our game, we want to have mixed skill sets to be able to play it. We want to be able to do that, right? We want to have those kind of decisions being able to be made versus just twitch skills so that we can have a broader set of people who feel good playing that. So we have to tune that so that works, but that's important. A little side note on here. Often when I talk about mixed skill sets, people say like, oh, so you play with women. I play with the 2 women, Ash and Jet, a lot. They're really good players. They're better than me. If you are a developer and you think testing mixed skill sets means including women, you're an idiot. You need to find bad players. And that comes in all types. Okay?